My name is James Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. If you have not done so already, please do. Click that subscription button and the notifications bell. This way you'll be notified anytime I upload any new or new to you classic content from our archives that date back to 2002. If you get the opportunity, please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and info needs, as well as our store to keep us going free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you came here, the content here on YouTube.
Our first question comes from Jason Clevitt with Slam Wrestling. You have the floor.
Hi, Kurt. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
I actually have a question sort of related to the past. There's going to be a lot of questions about your decision and stuff, so I'm going to take it a little bit back. WrestleMania 19, your match with Brock Lesnar, when he did that shooting star press and landed on his head, what was going through your mind? Did you flash back to SummerSlam when you got knocked loopy? How did you get the match back on track?
I wasn't sure if he was coherent. I asked him a few different times, and eventually he gave me a response, more of a huh, and wasn't sure what to do at that point. And I asked him if he was able to stand, and he said, "I think so." And what I did is basically I helped to pick him up, and I therefore told him what to do at that point, and simply all he had to do was his finish move, which he did, and we were able to, turn a disaster into quite a bit of a success story. And him landing the way he did, although we had an incredible match, it actually added to it, which we weren't expecting. But in pro wrestling, anything can happen. That actually happened. I give Brock a lot of credit for being able to finish, and he also for him being able to stay healthy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Brian Stoll with the Stranglehold. You go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kurt, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
I think I probably speak for a lot of wrestling fans out there that everybody's excited to see that you're back in the ring. Also, though, a little concerned. I went back over some of the interviews we've done in the past, and after you broke the neck one time, you said you were going to come back and be a little more cautious, and after your daughter was born, you said you were going to be a little more cautious. Just how is it going to be different this time? How are you going to still be Kurt Angle, especially with this new list of competitors, and you said you're going to be unleashed and no longer held back? How is it going to be different that with all the health issues you've had, how are you going to take care of those issues that you faced before?
Well, in the past, I was never given enough time to properly heal, to rehabilitate, and with TNA, I made an agreement with Dixie Carter that I would wrestle when I felt that I was able to go 100%. And if there were any time in my time frame where I didn't feel that well, I would call her and tell her, listen, maybe not this week, maybe next week. I was traveling 260 to 300 days a year with my former employer. With Dixie, I don't intend to even try to attempt that. I expect to wrestle as much as I can, when they need me most, and that's the way I'll be utilized. I am the new name and face of TNA, and therefore I do have responsibilities that I should be at the most important events, but at the same time, they're going to give me enough rest to heal up so that I can go 100% each and every time. I've always told you I would hold back, but what I found out is I can't go any less than 120%. I never did in my life. I've tried, and it just doesn't work for me. If I have another 10-year career, great. If I have a 5-year career, great. But what I've learned about myself is I can't slow down. I give the fans what they pay for, and I will continue to do that.
Okay, I'll jump back in the rotation. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Richard Jones with the Pain Clinic. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Kurt. Congratulations on joining TNA, and I wish you happiness and health with it. I want to ask you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Name some things that we've heard that you were frustrated in this past year. Name some things that frustrated you with your former employer.
The main thing that frustrated me was that I wasn't getting the proper medical care, wasn't getting enough rest. Basically, I felt like I was being buried into the ground, and You know, when I'd ask for time off, they'd say, okay, you're getting it, but when that time off came, they'd call upon me and say, listen, we need you because somebody else went down. So, you know, on a basis of timing and other incidents, you know, unfortunate incidents that occurred with other athletes, WWE was in a position where they needed me more this past year than they ever did before. And, you know, I felt that I was being treated very unfairly due to the fact that I've given my heart and soul to that company, and in turn wasn't getting the respect that I deserved as far as getting my rest periods, them knowing that I've had 5 neck injuries, them knowing that, you know, that a wrestler can't be on the road 260, 300 days a year. I wasn't just used to wrestle. I was used to do all the media days. I was used to do all the interviews. I was used to do all the appearances. You know, at that point, I put my foot down, and you know, and somewhat I behaved. I didn't behave erratically, but I felt that I wanted to, you know, basically tell them, listen, you know, the interviews and the appearances and stuff, why don't we cut those short, and I'll do those on the days that I'm on the road. And therefore, don't make me go on the road when I don't have to, because I need to be at home rehabilitating my neck, giving my body some rest, being with my family, and that wasn't happening, so I was very unhappy.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Mike Lano at the NBC Radio Gong magazine. You go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kurt. My Japan editors asked, one, what are your MMA thoughts and intentions, and is there any substance to the Tokyo Sports Report of you being offered Brock for potential New Year's Eve at K1 huge event?
The offer was there. I'm not going to lie to you. Am I interested in MMA? Yes. I've had every MMA company come to me with, I'm talking about retirement kind of money. Probably more than they ever paid anyone else. They obviously feel that I'm a very big commodity, being an Olympic gold medalist, and probably one of, if not the most well-known professional wrestlers in wrestling today. So they felt that, you know, in order to get me, they'd have to pay me a large sum of money. You know, the money's important to me, but also the timing is as well. And am I going to do MMA? TNA has given me the, you know, that's another reason why I went with TNA, is because they gave me the room to spread my wings, to get involved in MMA if I choose to do so, to give me the time off to train, to do movies, to do TV shows. I was no longer, I had a boss, but I was no longer owned. And I hated the feeling of being owned and being told what to do and what not to do all the time, rather than having someone give me, you know, consultation, which is what TNA does. They say, you know, we feel this is good for you, we feel this isn't good for you. When I was with the other company, it was no, 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 you're not doing it. All you're going to do is be a wrestler. And, you know, therefore, I no longer ever wanted to be owned by anyone again. And then again, I want to reiterate, I have a boss, and I listen to my boss, and her name's Dixie Carter. And she's the one that I answer to. But at the same time, she gives me the flexibility to go out there and pursue other things that I want to do. And that's very important to me, and that's what I wasn't getting in WWE. They own your name, they own you, they own everything about you, and there's not anything you can do or say to get out of your contract, to pursue other things. It's just, you're strictly wrestling unless he gives you the green light, in which he did not do that for me because I was his best wrestler.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Chris Gorsk with the main event. Go ahead, sir.
How you doing, Kurt?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Do you feel there's a lot of pressure and expectations upon you joining TNA as far as bringing the company to new levels?
Do I feel there's added pressure? Is that what you asked?
Do you feel there is added pressure as far as bringing the company to new levels?
You know what? There is some pressure. I mean, you know, we're talking about a company that is growing rapidly, and me stepping in, a lot of people will expect, including my boss, will expect the company to get higher ratings. I believe that's happening, and I believe it would have happened without me. Will it happen quicker with me? Of course it will. But at the same time, these athletes in TNA are so phenomenal that they don't even know how good they are. If you compare the athletes in TNA against WWE, they're 5 times better. I mean, in WWE you only have a short list of guys that can actually main event. In TNA, that list is endless. I watched shows for the last year of TNA, being a wrestling fan myself, and every guy that has walked out into the ring, I told myself I could have a 5-star match with. And that says a lot about TNA and the way they progressed and what they've done with this company. And, you know, now that we're moving into prime time in November, you know, the ratings are going to go up and people are going to be interested because they're going to be interested because Kurt Angle moved over there. And why did he move over there? It wasn't just because I was unhappy with WWE. It's because I saw a company in TNA that had so much room for growth and that they basically had the ability to be the top company in the world in the next year or two. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be able to say, you know what, I went over there and I helped make TNA a huge success, a company that obviously people think are second to WWE, which I don't believe for a second, and didn't believe that even when I was watching it. I believe TNA will be the top company eventually, and Vince McMahon has a lot of work cut out for him to stop TNA from its continuous popularity.
Okay, thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Blackjack Brown with the Chicago Sun-Times. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kurt, how's it going, man?
Very well, Blackjack.
All right, just wanted to ask you, do you feel that you were pushed out of the WWE and maybe they wanted you to go over to TNA, such as a Bret Hart situation, to where I think Vince wanted Bret to go over to WCW to help dwindle their funds? Do you see a similarity with this?
You know what? Let me start with why I left. WWE just signed me to a new 5-year deal, so there was no reason for them to try to push me out. If anything, WWE needed me now more than ever. Were they trying to... Vince is trying to compete with himself, you know, with the SmackDown, with the ECW, with the Raw. He wants to keep it that way. He doesn't want TNA to succeed, and he doesn't want to push out his best wrestler. That would be very stupid of him. What he did not do is, you know, I think that WWE was so desperate that they kept me on the road all those times when I necessarily didn't have to be on the road, where they could have taught their younger talent and replaced them with me, or replaced me with them, so that they could get experience. Instead, they were so nervous about making money at each and every show that they wanted Kurt Angle there. I decided to leave WWE. I'm the one that asked for the meeting to meet with Vince up at his office. I'm the one that asked for the release. And Vince asked me if can we make it a mutual release, and I said yes. So rumors of me being pushed out and rumors of me getting fired are very false. And you know, I'm here talking to everybody just to tell the truth of what happened. And Vince McMahon basically wanted me to stay. I did not want to stay. I no longer enjoyed working for him. I wasn't having fun anymore. I felt the company was going downward, really hard, downward spiral. I felt that, you know, a person like me not being utilized properly was not the smartest thing in the world. You know, I felt that I was the best one there, and I think that any agent there in WWE complained about the same thing. They felt that Kurt Angle should be the top guy there. Obviously, the CEO of WWE didn't feel the same. For whatever reason, I can't tell you. Did he think I was a liability because of my neck? Maybe so. But did he want to lose me? No, by no means did he want to lose me. You know, to just tell you in a nutshell, I asked for the meeting. I got my release because I asked for it. And Vince McMahon asked me, can we make it a mutual release, just to make his company basically save face. And that's what happened, and that's the end of the story, basically.
Okay, do you ever see yourself going back?
No, I don't think I'll ever work for Vince McMahon again. But you know what? You can't rule anything out. It's just that My wife wouldn't let me. But you know, it's funny. You know, in wrestling, you never know. But I promised one thing is, you know, working for TNA and Dixie Carter, I found that wrestling can be fun again, and you're not pressured into doing things you don't want to do. And they look to you for ideas and where you want to go and where you're headed, you know, where you want to be in the company. It's not, there's no politics involved in TNA. And I'm not going to say, I can't really discuss WWE, but I think everybody knows what's going on up there.
Right.
But, you know, I just saw room for growth for me as an individual and for also the company of TNA. So I plan on sticking with Dixie the next 30 years, whether I be a talent, whether I be, you know, talent relations director, whether I be, you know, a guy that goes around and promotes for her, whether I be an agent or so-called what Vince McMahon calls producer, or even a writer. I plan on being involved with Dixie for the rest of my life, and no matter what I do, if I go to movies and I have a lot of success there, I can't leave wrestling. You know, I have a love for it, a passion for it that I will always go back to it. So I am planning on having TNA as my home for good, and I'm going to watch this company grow. I'm going to grow with the company, and as big as Kurt Angle has been in the past, he's going to get even bigger because now you got you know, you got a company that wants to use me in the proper way, and they're not, you know, nobody there is gunning for my spot. And you know, I want to tell these guys, if you can take my spot, take it, because this company will make more money. So I'm not the kind of guy to block anyone from taking my spot. If you notice in WWE, I was very generous. I did what my boss told me to do, and I made a lot of athletes there, and I made them look very good. Well, in TNA, now I have the time to carry the ball, and I have my opportunity to show not just TNA, but everyone else in the world what I'm very capable of doing. And I'm going to enjoy this. This can be a lot of fun. This can be a lot of fun for me and the company, and you're going to see this company grow very quickly, as it already has in the last 4 years.
Okay, Brother Kurt, good luck to you, and see you down the road, brother.
Thank you, my man.
All right.
The next question comes from Larry Sanka at 411mania.com. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Hi, Kurt. How are you today?
Hello. I'm sorry. How are you doing?
I'm fine, man. If you could go back and rethink things, you had the neck surgery by Dr. Joe. Would you have, if you could go back and do it again, would you have gotten possibly the neck fusion surgery like a lot of your peers have gotten instead?
No, those guys are having a lot of problems with their neck. My neck, the operations I had were a huge success. It's just that my neck was broken before I even got into wrestling. I had a 5-level problem. And you have to understand, it wasn't the same level that I kept re-injuring. It was another level going out, and then another level going out. Now imagine if I would have fused those 2 levels together with the other levels being weaker. See, when you fuse levels together, you depend on the other levels to pick up the slack for the flexibility. So what I did is the right move. Everybody else did the wrong move. And I tried to tell them, don't go get fusion. That's prehistoric stuff. You see what medical research has, how far they have come. Now you find a guy like Dr. Joe that's so innovative that he makes his own instruments, his own tools, the stuff that he does with surgery, and he came up with a non-invasive, minimal invasive surgery that actually saved my career. And yeah, he did surgery on 1 level, but then I got hit over the head with a chair, which I believe that it won't ever happen again. If it does, my hands are going up before my head. But then I got hit over the head with a chair, another level went out, so I'd have surgery on that level. So basically, I have full flexibility and mobility in my neck. My neck is completely flexible, and the reason why is because I didn't have the fusion. The other guys are hurting every day because that fusion has taken a toll on their other levels of the neck. And I tried to tell Vince McMahon, I tried to tell the other wrestlers, don't get the fusion. Go with the minimally invasive surgery so that you continue to have flexibility in your neck. And they thought since I was getting injured all the time, you know, 5 different occasions, that my neck kept going out. No, that's not true. It's because before I started, I already had all 5 levels. They were already damaged. So it's just a matter of time. You know, when you go through pro wrestling and you're bumping around, you're getting slammed and your neck's getting jarred, and you're doing all these high acrobatic moves and landing outside the ring and getting slammed on the floor, through the tables. Eventually your neck's going to wear and tear. Well, my neck was a disaster before I got there, and actually it's better now than it was before I started. So right now, is my neck 100%? No, it never will be. Even when I fight mixed martial arts, it never will be. But my neck is good enough that I was able to get the strength back in my arms, and I was able to keep the full flexibility in my neck. So that was very important to me. And like I said, Dr. Joe did a tremendous job, and I don't regret it for a second. I think everybody else made the mistake, and I will continue to go to Dr. Joe if I ever have any other problems, God forbid.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next question comes from King Jordan with New York Daily News. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Kurt Angle.
Good afternoon.
I got to tell you, Kurt, when you appeared on TNA, it was shades of like Hall and Ash in '96 coming into the NWO. It was like a feeling of rejuvenance of wrestling again. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you very much. It's a great compliment, because I felt that they made a huge impact, and we're looking for that same kind of impact, maybe even more of an impact, because I have a lot of respect for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, but I also feel that they couldn't hold my jockstrap in that ring. But that's my personal opinion.
Right. Okay, I want to clear up some internet rumors. There are some rumors that say that you take way too many Vicodin and painkillers. Can you bring me up to date on that story?
Yeah, I haven't taken painkillers in over 3 years. I had once had a problem with painkillers, and it had a lot to do with my neck surgery and not having enough time off and being overworked. And I became dependent on them. At that point, I had nowhere else to go but to go to the boss. I actually had a discussion with Jim Ross and John Laurinaitis, and then I talked to Vince McMahon, and I told him, listen, I am taking so many that I'm afraid I'm going to die. And I could not function, because being on the road 300 days a year, and that's including the appearances and the media days and the radios and everything else that I did, plus the wrestling, which was about 220 to 250 days a year, plus the overseas tours, which we did about 8 to 10, maybe even 12 a year. I had to take them to function. I got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed unless I took, I'm not kidding, a large dose, a whole handful. And it got so bad that my wife and I sat down and we discussed, where do we go? And we found a pain doctor, and I went to him and I told him what was going on. And I had a pay-per-view match against John Cena 3 days later. And I talked to my doctor. He said, listen, we need to put you in rehab. And I said, okay, then that's what I'll do. But I said, I don't want to take another painkiller from this day on. And he said, that's impossible. You need to wean down. We need to get you down, maybe down 5, another 5, another 5, another 5, and there's so forth until you go down to 1 and then 0. And I said, no, I'm stopping cold turkey today. And he said, well, you could actually kill yourself doing that. And I said, well, I'm willing to take the chance, because I don't ever want to take a pill again. And so I called Vince McMahon. I called Vince McMahon and told him that I need 3 months off, and that I need to go to rehab. And he told me, you're not getting 3 months off. You're going to rehab on the road. He said, you're an Olympic gold medalist. You have the will to do anything you want to do. You're going back on the road. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any excuses. You go back and you rehab by yourself on the road. And I went back to my doctor. My doctor said, that's impossible. No one's ever done that. Well, I actually did it. But in the process, I started getting worn down even more. And I will tell you, 3 days later, I was going through a major withdrawal against John Cena in that ring that I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But all the company was worried about, the WWE, you know, and my boss was worried about, was me making John Cena look strong. It was me putting John Cena over, making him look good enough to hold the title. That was more important to him than my health. So, you know, from there on, my attitude toward Vince turned sour, and we had a great relationship before that. But what I found out is, you know, if you're making big money for him, which I always did, and I made probably more money for him than anybody, as far as in a wrestling aspect. I basically felt like I was no longer, you know, nobody cared about me. They just cared about me making this certain person and him going on and him having the success he did. Well, I did. I made him look incredibly well, much better than he is. And I got him ready for WrestleMania, and when I went backstage, I basically dropped on my face. I thought I was going to die. And then the next day, I was supposed to have the day off, and John Heidenreich's blood pressure was too high, so I got a call from the boss, and he told me, we need you to go down to Baltimore and wrestle tonight. And I said, Vince, I cannot move. And he said, that's too bad. I need you down there. He goes, I want you to go to the gym and work out right now. I said, well, I'll go for a run. He said, no, I want you to lift hard, and I want you to run as hard as you can, and then I want you to fly down to Baltimore and take John Heidenreich's place. At that point, I was like, okay, I lost all respect for this guy. And that's when it went downhill from there. And little by little, after, you know, 2 or 3 years, the respect factor got lower and lower, and to the point where Vince and I didn't talk that much anymore. And, you know, was it his fault? Yeah, it was his fault, but was it my fault as well? Yeah, I should have put my foot down and said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving my house. I am going to rehab, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. And Vince wouldn't have fired me. So I feel that he wasn't just at fault. I think that I would have been at fault. I think I was at fault as well, because I didn't put my foot down at the time.
What you're basically saying is Vince McMahon thought of the business rather than your health.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's no other way of thinking. If you were asked to do something like that after what you went through, would you not think that he was thinking that was more important than your health?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think anybody would think that.
But Kurt, would you say a thank you to him for at least putting you on national television, giving you a platform to do your thing? Do you give him any credit for that?
Well, you know what? Yeah, I can thank Vince for that, but I would have been successful anywhere. You know, I was at that point when I joined WWE, I was getting offers everywhere else. I took the lowest offer with Vince, but I mean, I was getting offers for everything, from movies to mixed martial arts to wrestling over in Japan to WCW. I just felt that Vince McMahon was probably the guy for me to go with at that particular time. So I have to thank Vince a little bit. I mean, he did give me an avenue to show my talent, but when you think about it, you know, Vince threw me into the fire. I wasn't even in business within a year when I won the title. I didn't know what I was doing, but, you know, God gave me the ability to learn quickly and to adjust. And I give myself a lot of credit for that. I give some of the agents like Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe a lot of credit for that. So in turn, I have to thank Vince for giving me guys like that. But at the same time, I would never trade in my life for a career in wrestling. And that's what I felt like I was doing.
Bret Hart once said that he would like to have one match.
Hey, Kurt.
And I would definitely love to with Bret. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kurt.
Okay.
The next question comes from Jim Barceloni from the Miami Herald. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Kurt, what was it like dealing with the travel schedule and the reaction from your wife and family about your time in WWE and going to TNA?
Well, I hate to say it, but my wife was always right. She told me not to trust the guys there. She told me not to buy into the bogus BS that was going on between the top guys there and Vince McMahon. And it caused a lot of animosity between my wife and myself. And me being away from home so much, you know, my wife and I separated at one point. I almost lost my marriage and my family life. and at the same time, I don't think anybody, I mean, I don't think the boss up in WWE really even cared. You know, if I was single, then he could use me even more. So, you know, I think he does care about family. That's why he does let the guys go home a couple of days a week. But when you have a Kurt Angle and you got limitless, you know, ability to do tremendous things with this kid, you want him to stay single, and you want to be able to utilize him as much as possible. And I'm not saying that was in Vince McMahon's plans. Vince isn't that type of person to purposely try to get you divorced and get with him. But I think that when he saw that coming, he saw more money and more opportunity in me being single. That's not what I wanted. And so I didn't listen to my wife, and I kept listening to the company. And before I knew it, I was single, and I didn't enjoy it. I lost the life I loved. You know, I wasn't able to see my daughter because now I was on the road all the time. And so you know, I kind of regret that. But, you know, I'm not saying that I was, you know, I was basically sabotaged. That wasn't it. You know, I have to take some of the blame for that. That's not completely Vince's fault. But what I can say is, you know, if you're going to be my boss, you better respect my wife, respect my family, and give me the proper time off the heel and the proper time to support my family, or I'm not going to work for you. And that's why I went with TNA. And that's why Dixie Carter, she cares more about you having your relationship with your wife and spending time with your family than she does about the business. And not that she doesn't care about the business. She wants his business to be more successful than anything she's ever done in her life. And she's done quite a bit. She's accomplished quite a bit in entertainment. But she has family values because she has her own family and she knows what it feels like. You know, on the other hand, you know, the CEO of WWE didn't spend any time with his family his whole life. He was basically working 24/7. And I can attest to that because I talked to some of the agents up there, and some of them moved away because they couldn't take the 24/7, the meetings and this and that, and always being gone. And you know, you know, I don't even think Vince McMahon spent more than 10 days a year with his children. So, you know, I think Linda McMahon did all the, you know, basically parenting, and I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want that to happen to me. I wanted to be a family man, and that's number one. You know, I have a list of priorities. God's first, my family's second, my job's third, and that's the way it's going to be from now on.
Thank you. Stay healthy.
Okay, thank you.
The next question comes from Heather Turk with What's On Magazine. Go ahead.
Hey, Kurt, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good talking to you. Obviously, you're the new face of TNA, and a few months ago, Christian Cage was the new face. Who would you like to see come over with everything you've been talking about? Obviously, travel schedules less. You can focus more on family. Who do you think would be a good fit, and who would you like to see follow your and Christian's lead?
Well, there's no, actually, I don't even have to think about that. He's a wrestling machine in himself. It's Chris Benoit. The only problem is Chris Benoit has a 5-year guarantee, so he's out of the picture for 5 years. You know, and if we could get Chris Benoit, that would just take it over the top. He's one of my favorite wrestlers to perform with, and I think that he would be a great teacher and mentor for the wrestlers over in TNA, because like I said before, these wrestlers in TNA are so good they don't even know how good they are. But you know, my job is to make sure that they realize how good they are and how capable, you know, what they're capable of doing and how far TNA can go. So I'm real excited about it. With Chris Benoit, without Chris Benoit, we're going to do it. But I would have to say the one person would be Chris.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Patrick Lennon with the Daily Star. Go ahead.
Oh.
Mr. Lennon, your line is open. We'll come back to Mr. Lennon later. The next question comes from Adam Martin with WrestlingView.com. Go ahead, sir.
It's actually WrestleView.com, sorry. But, hey, Kurt, how you doing?
Very well, thanks.
This is something that I really noticed, and this really surprised me about when your promo hit, when that promo went on pay-per-view. I was really surprised, like a lot of wrestling fans, because we just thought you were going to MMA, and that was it. You really weren't on a lot of our radar. So when that came on, a lot of people were surprised. But were you surprised? I know Dixie kind of commented this on an interview with TNAWrestling.com, but were you surprised at how much wrestling fans cared about your health more than seeing you back in the ring so soon? Because we had just literally seen you on the ECW brand, and then, a couple months later, you're back on the scene. Did that surprise you, or was that something you were expecting when you signed with TNA to get that response from wrestling fans?
I can't tell you what kind of response I expected to get. I was very happy with the response. I thought, when people thought it was Goldberg, and, they were kind of excited, but then it turned out to be me, and they went wild. That spoke volumes to, what everyone thought I could bring to TNA. As far as, what you talked about before, my health, basically, what was the beginning of your question? You asked me something that I wanted to answer.
Well, it had to do, the response to fans.
Oh, about the fans. You know what? First of all, I like to call them the fans. They're our audience. I have a lot of respect for them. To call them fans, yeah, sure, they're fans of TNA, they're fans of whoever they like, but to the audience out there whom I have a lot of respect for, I was very happy to see that they cared about my well-being. So much that they'd rather see me healthy and not wrestling than get in the ring and wrestle unhealthy. But I can reassure them from the bottom of my heart, that I am 100% healthy. There are no issues. There's nothing to worry about now. I am back, and I am completely focused on making TNA the top company in the world, and they have nothing to worry about. And I'm glad that they showed a lot of concern, because I've heard a lot of feedback that Kurt shouldn't be in there anymore. I just pray to God that he realizes it and that he moves on with his life, because we care enough about him. He gave us so much enjoyment the last 6 years. We'd rather see him alive than dead. Well, I took that to heart, and I thought about it, and I said, am I to the point where that I can't wrestle anymore? And my heart tells me no, and my body tells me no, and my mind tells me no. And all I can do is listen to myself, because I'm a very spiritual guy, and I pray to God quite a bit, and God's telling me, you're not done yet. You haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg with your ability. And that's because, one, I have a lot further to go, and two, WWE didn't give me, although, I was one of the top guys, they didn't give me the ability to, per se, carry the ball when they should have. So, obviously my doctors felt there was no problem with me coming back. They were like, Kurt, you're 100% healthy. There's no reason why you shouldn't come back. They checked everything. I had a full-blown physical. They did a blood test to check what medication I was taking, everything like that. And basically everything came out great. And they were like, listen, you're cleared to wrestle. We couldn't clear anyone more than you, because I've been training hard, and I've been off my medication, and I've been doing fantastically well. So with that being said, I'm excited about getting back in the ring and wrestling for TNA.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Patrick Kelly with Wrestling Epicenter. Go ahead.
Hello, Kurt. It's an honor to speak with you today.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned that you've been watching TNA for about a year, and I was just curious, are the WWE superstars aware of what's going on in TNA?
Oh, without a doubt. Sure, they're concerned. They've seen this new, innovative kind of style of wrestling that they've never seen before. What TNA has done is they have their heavyweight division. It's very popular. But at the same time, they made the X division just as popular as the heavyweight division. So that's something WWE didn't do. They have a cruiserweight division that doesn't mean squat. And, what Dixie Carter and TNA and Spike has done is they re-innovated wrestling, and they brought it back to wrestling. It's not sports entertainment anymore. I mean, they put the word wrestling back, back into wrestling. And, I don't like to say, I'm the best wrestler of this industry. I'm the best wrestler in wrestling, period. So I wanted to be a part of a company that wanted to go back to its roots and be a wrestling company, and not per se sports entertainment where you're pulling your pants down and you're making someone kiss your butt. I just think that there are certain things that you can do to help the company grow ratings without going into the gutter. And TNA is the company, and they're so innovative and they're so new. And if you've never watched it before, you got to sit down and watch just 1 hour of TNA. They don't have enough time. I think, honestly, God willing, Spike, which is obviously one of the best networks today, if they give them a 2-hour slot, you're going to see the ratings go up a lot quicker and a lot higher. So, we're going to start with that 1 hour, but eventually we're hoping that we get that 2-hour slot so that we can not just go out there and spend 2 hours of time on TV, but that we can show all of our talent. Because you haven't even seen the talent backstage and the hunger these guys have. They're not miserable. They're not moping. They're not, I was in a different company where guys that weren't being used, they were miserable, moping. Why am I not being used? Why am I not on the house shows? I'm not getting paid enough, this and that. But with TNA, everybody there is hungry. They want my spot, and I encourage them to take my spot. They're not going to get it easily. They probably won't get it. But if they do, hey, I'll open it up and say, hey, you go. I'll enjoy the ride. I'll go behind you and let you make the ratings go even higher. So I'm the kind of guy that, I don't like to block anyone politically. But if someone's better than me, they deserve that spot. Until then, it's going to be very difficult to take Kurt Angle's spot away from him.
All right, I agree with everything you just said, Kurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next question comes from John Waldman at Slam Wrestling. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Kurt. It's great to be able to talk to you.
Thanks, John.
Just a quick question for you to get it refocused to the TNA pay-per-view. You're coming in as the enforcer, the outside enforcer in the big match of the main event. It's been done a couple times where a wrestler will come into a new company and they'll have the outside role. Ken Shamrock had that at WrestleMania 14. Bret Hart had it at Starrcade. I'm wondering if you're satisfied with just being an enforcer for your pay-per-view debut, or if you're really looking forward to getting in the ring.
I'm looking forward to getting in the ring, but I'm very satisfied with my spot on the pay-per-view because I just got here, and what I need to do is I need to feel out, where I am in the company, what these guys are doing. I've been studying the wrestlers, learning different things, learning different methods of how they go about their style of wrestling. I'm a guy that sits down and studies films for hours and hours. My wife sometimes complains because I'll put in tapes for 6 or 7 hours. And what I do is exactly what I did in the Olympics. I study my opponents. And basically, for one, me being involved in the main event, obviously, we're hoping, and I pray to God that we get more viewers that will buy the pay-per-view, for one, because Bound for Glory is our biggest pay-per-view of the year, obviously, and two, me being involved in the main event, you can't get a better spot than that if you're not wrestling. To throw me in there and just throw me in there with somebody without any issue would be just ludicrous. It would be stupid. So, the timing for me, if I would have came in maybe 1 or 2 months earlier, I could see me wrestling at Bound for Glory. But right now, I'm very happy with that spot. And, they're not just throwing Kurt in there and having him wrestle 30-minute matches in the main event on TNA and in the pay-per-view and taking up all the time. Because like I said before, there's so much talent that, literally we don't have enough time in an hour to show all their talent. So, being a part of the pay-per-view, I'm just honored to be a part of that because, you got 2 really great wrestlers. I mean, Jeff Jarrett and Sting, these guys are going to have a tremendous match. And, I don't want to take that away from them. Being a part of it is great, but, that's a tremendous main event match, and that's something I would buy if I were sitting at home. So, you know, and that's not the only match on the card. You look across the card, and it's phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to, as a viewer, and also as being part of that main event match. And obviously, you're going to see curtain action to some degree in that match. So, you know, I'm happy with that. And the next pay-per-view, you know, they're kind of easing me in, and that's the way it should be. You know, if they just threw me in a pay-per-view right now, they would be showing desperation. And they have no reason to be desperate right now. They're doing well, and you know what? They just got a great addition in Kurt Angle. It's just adding to the fuel to the fire, and having that position is an honor more than it is, you know, me not being happy with it. I'm very happy with it.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Michael Johnson with PWInsider.com. Go ahead, sir.
Kurt, how are you today?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What'd you say?
I said hi, Kurt. How are you today?
I'm sorry. Hi. Very good, thank you.
Okay. You discussed your decision that you asked to be released from the company, from WWE. Since your departure, and even when you were released, WWE issued the initial statement that it was a mutually agreed upon release. However, afterwards, they've discussed that there was a confrontational meeting. And they even, I'm quoting them now, Angle was an emotional wreck departing WWE Titan Tower. Vince McMahon just last week said that your competitive streak was going to be your demise, and that you weren't taking time off to let your body heal, and that you weren't thinking long-term about yourself. Now, everything you've said today is 100% the exact opposite of how Vince McMahon has pictured and framed the situation. So what is your reaction to how WWE's responded to your release and those comments that I've just mentioned?
Well, for one, Vince McMahon never thought I was going to go anywhere else. As a matter of fact, obviously Vince McMahon didn't tell you the whole story. He told me basically he was going to release me to allow me to pursue, to try to go around and see where I was going to go. He thought I was going to end up with him, and he actually offered me right there on the spot, guaranteed that he was going to give me another 5-year deal whenever I was ready to come back. Now, to me, that doesn't tell me that this guy was trying to get rid of me or whatever you were talking about. To me, that's telling me Vince McMahon thinks that, you know, once I get my senses together, which they were together, and you know what, let's go back to the emotional wreck. How would you be if you were treated like a dog for the last 3 years, and then you go into a meeting and they're attacking you right away? And all you want to do is talk to them about 2 things. 1, either wrestling part-time, or 2, asking to be released. And instead of listening to you, they're attacking you about other things. Me, personally, I said, I want released. And, you know, that was quite a shock to them. And, you know, they started telling me about, you know, how I was, you know, not, you know, that I was acting a little bit erratic and stuff, and I, you know, was I acting erratic near the end? Yes. Was it drug use? No. Was it purposely? Yes. You're damn right it was, because I had to be heard, because they continued to ignore me. All they did is they rushed to sign me to a new 5-year deal, which I did not want to sign right away, and they were like, where's your deal? Where's your deal? Where's your deal? Finally, I had to give it to them. And when I gave it to him, I was like, damn, I just signed a deal with the devil for another 5 years. And so I went up there thinking, you know what, my odds of getting released are slim to none. I went up there and I talked to them, and they started kind of attacking me, so I became emotional. I started crying. And I just couldn't believe the position I was in, and I felt like, you know what, there's no way of getting out of here. And that's when Vince, I think, had a little bit of a change of heart. He said, listen, I'll let you go. I'll let you get released. Because he heard from somebody else that I was told that I was going to make $30 million in Pride for 5 years. And you know, he was like, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. You know, and he didn't think it was going to happen. So he thought that I would come back to him. So he said, listen, what I'm saying is take some time off, do what you feel you have to do. Kurt, we're going to give you another 5-year deal, and all you have to do is sign the dotted line. He thought I was coming back, and I wasn't. I was never coming back.
If he had thought TNA was an option for you, do you think you would have gotten that initial release?
No. If TNA was even in the picture, you know, I signed with TNA. I never talked to TNA until after I had that meeting with Vince, got released. He never thought TNA would ever be in the picture. TNA never came up. It was one of those things that, you know, if he wanted me to go to TNA, he would have brought TNA up. He thought I was going mixed martial arts, and I did too. But TNA came to the picture, and bam, I met somebody that actually related to me, that understood that family life is more important than wrestling, that she knew that I would give everything I had, and I was going to be on a network that I always wanted to be on, Spike TV. I thought it was the best network in the world. I'm not putting down USA Network, but Spike TV is basically where it's at. That's, you know, that's kind of the cool station. That's where everybody tunes in to Spike at one time or another. So I did what I had to do to get out of my contract. And whether it was an emotional wreck, you know, can I say that I did it on purpose? I have no comment for that. But I will say that I was an emotional wreck. And Vince, I think, for a second, he dropped down his guard and said, "Listen, we'll give you a release." And it was so quick. It was like, "We'll release you today. We'll wire you the money. We'll give you the release today, and your money will be in the bank right away. And we'll be ready to you." And it was like, you know, like he thought I was really an emotional wreck when really I wasn't. But he said, "Listen, when you get everything straightened out, come back. I'll sign you to another 5-year deal." And, you know, so it told me that, you know, for one, he didn't want to be liable if he thought, for example, something bad was going to happen. And two, he wanted me back. So, you know, on two different situations, you know, Vince McMahon kind of played the good guy and the bad guy. And, you know, I would have never be talking about this if Vince wouldn't have broke out and started talking about our meeting. And that meeting was supposed to be completely confidential.
Were you offended when they sent out the text message announcing that you had been emotionally distraught and all the other things? Were you surprised when that happens? Because it came out of nowhere. Everything had been painted as this is mutual, he's going to go get healthy, and then he's going to come back. And then next thing you know, they're sending out this message out of nowhere with nothing previous to it, no follow-up, talking about what an emotional meeting it was. Were you surprised at that?
The whole reason why I did that is because I moved to TNA. Simple, done, end of story.
But that message had been sent out way prior to you signing with TNA.
Trust me, listen, the wrestling business, they know well ahead of time what's going on. There are friends in one place and friends in another place. And even if they are, you know, I'm not saying that anyone blew the whistle at TNA, but Vince had a feeling that I was doing something and he needed to strike the iron while it was hot. And for what he said, that I was acting erratic, and rumor had it that he fired me, I was very offended because he did not fire me. See, you got to understand, I'm going to say this one last time. I went up there with the thought, and Vince didn't want the meeting. I wanted the meeting. I went up there to get released. I got what I had to, and I did what I had to in the meeting to get released. So, and when I went to TNA, obviously, maybe Vince didn't know, maybe he did. Maybe he thought I was going to mixed martial arts, and you know, obviously mixed martial arts, to some degree, is starting to compete with pro wrestling. So I think that Vince McMahon did whatever he could to kind of, you know, hurt my, reputation, and it didn't, not at all. And another thing he did is he drew attention to himself, which he always likes to do.
Fair enough. I'm glad you got a chance to say your piece, and I hope you stay healthy.
Oh, good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next question comes from Jason Agnew at Live Audio Wrestling. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kurt, it's been widely documented that you were talking to a bunch of MMA groups. One, of course, was the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I'd like to know who they were pitching to put you in the ring with, and also your reaction to Dana White's comments after you signed with TNA, saying that UFC is not open to actors such as Kurt Angle.
Well, you know what? The deal he offered me, he was definitely open to actors. Dana White is a great guy. He has done tremendous things for UFC, and I respect him for that. But I compare him a lot to Vince McMahon due to the fact that he wanted me exclusively. And as I stated before, I did not want to be owned by anybody. Okay, nobody was going to own my name again. Okay, and if you give me that promise, I will be even more faithful to you. I will work even harder for you if you do that for me. And that's what TNA did for me. They said, listen, we're not asking to own you exclusively. exclusively. We're just asking you to come down here and give what you have. And I was considering going with Dana White at one point, but you know, he wanted to sign me to a long-term deal, and he wanted to make it exclusive. He wanted me to fight. I don't even want to say the name because the guy doesn't even belong in the octagon with me, but he thought it was a great story. I would just say that the kid was on Tough Enough, and he was trying to make a lot of money from my name, and he started calling a lot of different companies because I got released from WWE. I asked for my release, and he thought that, you know, this storyline would be great, and basically he was trying to get rich from my name. And me being 100%, when I got in the ring with the Tough Enough guys, I had a broken neck, and I could not feel my arms. And you know, that's a far cry from how I am now. And Dana White knew that. He knew that I would annihilate this person, but at the same time, you know, he was only asking me to do one fight. And from then on, he wanted just me to be in the stands and represent UFC for the next whatever years. And I couldn't picture myself just sitting there. Although the money was great and it was a very lucrative contract, I couldn't envision myself just sitting there doing nothing, sitting in the crowd for the next whatever years and not having any purpose. So being owned exclusively hurt me. Knowing that I'd only have one fight hurt me. And, you know, I'm not going to knock Dana White. I think he's a great guy. I think he's got a great company. And those guys are on the rise as well. And they're part of Spike TV, too. But at the same time, like I said, I wasn't going to be owned. And the person that I was going to fight, he told me it would be the biggest buy rate in the history of UFC, which he's right. It would be because I would be in it. But he thought the storyline would help too. And so, you know what, as far as Dana White, hey, it's always open. I'm always open to Dana White, and he would be one of the first guys I'd go to if I had a fight. The one thing he would not have is an exclusive right to me.
Would you work with Daniel Puder and TNA if they signed him?
If TNA signed him, yeah, I'd work with Daniel Puder. Is he good enough to be a pro wrestler? No. We tried with him, and he just wasn't picking it up. I'm not trying to knock Puder. He just doesn't have the athletic ability. And you know, if he's at home and he's training and he's trying to pick it up and he gets good enough that he can have a good tryout, maybe so. But he's nowhere near the level of these guys down in TNA, and if he wants to be, he better start working on it. I don't know what he's doing now except for blabbing on the internet from what I heard, because I don't go on the internet, but, you know, saying that he hurt me and this stuff and making T-shirts about me and basically trying to make money from my name. I don't respect anyone like that. But if I have to work with him, I will. If TNA wants to sign him, that's fine with me. If he wants to have a shoot fight with me, I'll have a shoot fight with him. I'll take him out in 40 seconds, and that's a guarantee. You know, it isn't the same Kurt Angle that he saw in that ring when I pinned him, and he had that hammerlock on me, that arm bar. And this is a completely different Kurt Angle. This is a Kurt Angle with full strength, and obviously I'm 20 pounds heavier. I only weighed 208 at the time, and my arms were only 14 inches. That's how bad a shape I was in. And I wasn't even worried about him. I was more worried about the bigger guys because like the tall blonde-haired kid and the tall African-American kid, those guys were monsters. And, you know, Kurt Angle, Olympic Kurt Angle, would have beaten the snot out of all of them at the same time. But the Kurt Angle at that point with a broken neck and having atrophy in his arms and couldn't feel my hands or my arms, it wasn't the right time for me to be in that ring, and that was a wrong combo of Vince McMahon.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
The next question, you'll have to forgive me if I mispronounce this last name, is with Brian Agrabright with Del Rio News Herald. Go ahead.
Thank you. Kurt, again, just great to see that you're back in a wrestling promotion again. I've been a big fan of yours for several years, and I just wanted to say welcome back to the business.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy where I am.
My main question is, now that you're in team, you've had a chance to look at talent in the company. Who are you looking forward to working with?
Well, obviously, right out of the gate, I haven't seen a guy his size with the athleticism to follow. He is a superstar in the making. He's just one of the many superstars in the making, but Samoa Joe's a little bit further along than the other guys. And you're talking about a guy that has an undefeated streak for almost 18 months now. They built him up to be a monster. And, you know, at one point I thought, you know, him and I should touch for a long time, but, you know, the more you know, I saw what was happening in the company and him taking the belt from Jeff Jarrett and holding it hostage, I thought it was a great opportunity for myself and Samoa Joe to face off in the ring, which you're going to see on Thursday night. But basically, if you watch this Thursday night, you're gonna love what happens in our segment, and it was just incredible. From my ring entrance to the physicality to everything was just tremendous. It was a perfect way to begin my debut in TNA, and it just happened to be my altercation was with Samoa Joe, which is, you're talking about the two, you know, top guys in the business. You know, one that's obviously is very promising, that's going to be a very huge name in the future, and one that's already, you know, considered to be will be inducted in the Hall of Fame. So you know, you got two guys that you know that went at it. It was quite a, I have to say, it was more of a shoot than anything, and you know, it really got my blood flowing. But it was a lot of fun, but at the same time, it started to get pretty serious at the end.
Well, thanks again, Kurt, and good luck here in TNA, and look forward to seeing you against Joe and AJ Styles and Daniels or anybody else they put you up against.
All those guys, you're right. Thank you.
The next question comes from Ryan Ward at Sports Talk Network. Go ahead, sir.
Kurt, it's great to get a chance to speak with you.
Thank you.
Kurt, I do have a question because after listening to you here, I'm trying to let it sink all in here, but you did say in that written letter that was released that you were never happy at WWE. If that is the case, then why did you resign, or why did you stay there for 7 years, going back to your days in Memphis?
I didn't really have time to look around my other options. When I was handed the contract, I was told, get this signed right away and get it back to me. And, you know, see, when you're signed, you're not allowed to talk to anybody. So basically, they didn't wait till my contract was up. You know, they were pushing me to sign. They kept pushing and pushing every week. Where's your contract? Where's your contract? And, you know, I kept calling my manager, what do I do? He's like, well, I don't know. I'd love for you to hold off till February and, you know, see what else we can do. But we didn't really have you know, they wanted it 7 months early. I mean, they knew something might happen with me, and they did not want to lose me by any means. And if they say that, they're lying. To want me to sign a contract 7 months early, that pretty much speaks for itself. And to keep hounding me, and I'm not talking, you know, I'm not just talking about at the arena. I'm talking about calling me at home. Make sure you bring your contract. Make sure it's notarized. You know, and then I'd forget to, and I'd leave it at home 1 week, and then next week I'd do it again. Then next week I'd bring my contract, but it wasn't notarized. You know, I was trying to hold off, and I realized, you know what, I can't hold off for 7 months. So I had it notarized and signed, and finally, when, you know, I kept it in my bag for another 2 weeks, and every time they asked me, I said, I'll get it to you today, and I didn't. And then the final time, the person that came to retrieve my contract actually came to me in the locker room while I was getting dressed and said, give me the contract. And it was like, gosh, dang, I gotta give it to him. And I wasn't happy about it. Did I have fun? Yeah, I had fun. I had angles with Stephanie and Triple H at the beginning. The stuff with Stone Cold was fun. It's just that, you know what, after a while, you know, it just got, things started getting old. I started running into dead ends. They would pretty much use me for wrestling. They weren't utilizing me as a champion per se, more as a, you know, I have a gift, a blessing from God. You know, God has given me tremendous talent, and to a certain degree, it's a gift, and at the same time, it's a curse. because Vince McMahon looked at me and said, geez, we don't have anybody this good that can, quote unquote, make other talent that is not nearly as good. So he saw the diamond, and then he saw the other diamonds in the rough and said, let's put the diamond with all the diamonds in the rough and have him make them. And that's what started to happen. And I was like, you know, I watched Stone Cold have his run. I watched Rock have his run, you know. And then, you know, when it was my time, you know, I got hurt and I came back. I got hurt again. But when I came back and I was ready to go, it wasn't given to me. And I just don't understand why. If you can sit down and tell me any reason why I didn't deserve to be the top guy above Triple H, Vince's son-in-law, above Shawn Michaels, above everybody else, I can't figure out why. And you know what? I'm not saying that you know, that's exactly what I wanted all the time. I'm just saying that, you know, if I were an owner of a company and I'm an Olympic gold medalist that made the transition like I did and became the very best wrestler today, if not in the history of wrestling, I'm going to use that guy I'm going to make as much money as I can with him. Instead, you know, a lot of situations they would send me down the mid-card or opening card to make people, and it was like, okay, it's kind of a gift and it's kind of a curse. It's a compliment at the same time, and at the same time, it's like, well, you know, I don't really, I like making people, but you know, I also like being that top guy and carrying the ball. You know, I'm used to being a champion, being a top guy, being a guy that can carry the ball that the company can depend on. And I wasn't given that opportunity, and I don't think at any time I was. If it was very short-lived. So they never gave me an opportunity to spread my wings and let me be me. The company always wanted me to be somebody else, a dork, you know, be funny, be hokey. You know, and it was so political, and I just did not want to be a part of that anymore because I wasn't political. And I was the kind of guy that always tried to elevate wrestlers. You know, I always would talk to wrestlers and tell them, hey, this is what you can do, and you know what, you need to go talk to Vince because you're not in the spot you need to be in. You know, and a lot of those other wrestlers wouldn't say a word to them. You know, I encouraged the wrestlers to go talk to Vince, and I encouraged them to try to take a step forward and improve their careers. And a lot of top guys there are like, no, nobody's getting my spot. See, I'm not that insecure. Me, I'll say, if you're better than me, you can have it. And that's the problem with that company today. They don't want, you know, the people that are in charge actually are the people that wrestle as well, and it's not right. It's not fair.
Kurt, I just got to ask you this. Did you get goosebumps when you stepped into the soundstage down there in Orlando for your first appearance at the TNA Impact Zone?
You mean when I came out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, TNA not only gave me a warm welcome, they gave me the best entrance in sports entertainment ever. I mean, this thing was, people that haven't seen it, wait till you see the entrance that Kurt Angle has. It is, you know, it was like, for one, they helped me out with it, but two, they let me have a say in what I wanted to do. Like when I went to WWE, they basically said, you know what, we're just going to give you the Patriots music from 1984, and you know what, just walk out and just walk to the ring, and then you know what, we'll give you some pyro tonight. But they wouldn't like tell me what to do, or they wouldn't give me any direction. And there was really no organization. And TNA, everything's organized from beginning to end, and it's like, you know, they wanted that entrance to be so impactful that people go, whoa, that is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. I want to see that again. And the music they gave me, it was, you know, I picked the music, and I thought it related to me more than anything because it's music that wrestlers train to. And Olympic wrestlers train to. And I thought it would be the most motivating, coolest kind of music that you could use. And together, TNA and myself made the best entrance in sports entertainment. It blows Triple H's away. It blows Rey Mysterio's away. It's a phenomenal entrance. When you see it, you understand what I'm talking about.
Kurt, I just want to say in closing that I met you several years ago when you stopped here in Cleveland. Pleasure meeting you then. Pleasure talking to you now. Good, best of luck to you and your family in the future.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The next question comes from Doug Braccioloni from the Internet Broadcasting. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kurt, how you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Just to follow up on that last answer then, who is the real Kurt Angle and who are we going to see in TNA?
Well, that's the one thing you're getting to see in TNA is the real me. Near the end of my days in WWE, you started to get to see the real Kurt Angle. I was always playing characters. And, I don't know, WWE has this fetish with gimmicks and characters. And, I think that we're all characters in our own sense. You don't want to take the personality out of the person. And, I was a very good actor, so I could be the person they wanted me to be. I could be the mean, nasty guy, or I could be the gullible, funny, idiot, and I was playing all these different kinds of characters that I didn't really enjoy playing, but it was working, and people were laughing, and it was funny, and I was a heel, a bad guy at the time, and it was okay. But when I went to Vince one day and I said, listen, just let me be me. I said, you know what, The Rock was The Rock. He just amplified himself 100 times. I said, Stone Cold was Stone Cold. That is Steve. I said, let me be me. That's all you have to do. And when he did that, I was a bad guy at the time. I'm wrestling John Cena, and every arena we're going into, they're turning on Cena and going with me. And I said, Vince, we can't stop this. He's like, no, I got to keep you bad guys. And I'm like, no, Vince, you can't stop what's rolling. Just let them do what they want to do. And I said, Vince, I have ideas for merchandise. He goes, listen, you don't make money on merchandise. And I was like, what an idiot. I was like, I'd like to start, and it was like, okay, I guess John Cena makes some money, and Rey Mysterio makes some money, Triple H makes money, but Kurt Angle's not allowed to. It was like I was being blocked politically, and it was like, I don't understand why. I gave so much to that company, and you know what? Out of the 10 best matches that WWE had, there's no doubt that I was probably a part of all 10 of them. And and I'm not talking about gimmick matches. I don't like gimmick matches. I'm talking about straight up wrestling. And but anyway, I just was unhappy there, and Dixie's letting me enhance on being me, the real Kurt Angle inside of me. I can be very nice, but I'm a very vicious, very angry person when I go out there. When I get in the ring, I treat it as if it's real. And I literally want to annihilate the person in front of me. And that's what you see in my eyes, because that's the way I am when I go in to compete. That's how I would be in mixed martial arts. That's how I'd be in pro wrestling or Olympic wrestling. It doesn't matter. That is me. And finally, I get to be me in TNA.
Are you keeping the mouth guard, and where did the idea come from anyway?
I got my teeth knocked out one house show, and I started wearing a mouth guard, and I said, you know what, I want a black mouth guard. So the dentist made me it, and we hooked up with a company that we're going to actually sell those mouth guards. And TNA is going to help me sell them. We're going to actually probably put Impact on it first and sell those mouth guards. And these mouth guards they're not just gimmick mouth guards. You can use these. And we have a company that also TNA is going to be involved in, which you can put any name you want on the mouth guard. And the company also will take your mold, you will send it back to them, and they'll make that mouth guard into your mold with the name you want, the team name, attitude name, whatever you want. It's a really cool idea. But you can go to my website for more information. So, that's... I think it's KurtAngleTNA.com or something. My manager runs that, but I'm sure you could just find it by going to Kurt Angle. But it's a really cool idea, and we're actually, TNA is so interested in not just pro wrestling, but athletes growing up, having an impression on them that, mouth guards actually lower your concussion rate by 6 times. And, I've had 5 concussions in WWE. Since I wear a mouth guard, I hadn't had one. So it actually works. So anyway, that's where that idea came from. And I actually have 20 different mouth guards. I have violence, vicious, every kind of name you could think of, and I'm going to start wearing those as well.
All right, thank you, Kurt. Good luck.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Joe Negrin at SmartWrestlingFan.com. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Kurt. How's it going?
Very well, thanks.
Great. Now that you no longer have to answer to Vince McMahon, I want to get your feelings on how the WWE has handled Eddie Guerrero's passing, particularly how they keep patiently bringing his death into angles and basically using it to write television for Friday nights for the past year.
You know what? First of all, a lot of people said that, we don't want to see Kurt Angle end up like Eddie Guerrero. Eddie and I had a completely different situation. Eddie died from exhaustion, and it had nothing to do with painkillers. But what I'm saying is that WWE using Eddie in the storyline. Obviously, they're taking care of his family, but they're also making a hell of a lot of money using Eddie Guerrero's name. Is it good? Yeah, it's good, but I mean, to a certain extent. But you know what? It makes people remember Eddie, which I enjoy that. But at the same time, I'd like to see every cent made that WWE has made on Eddie Guerrero go to his family. That's what I believe, because I loved Eddie Guerrero. He was one of my best friends. I have all the respect in the world. And he died with dignity and honor. And if WWE really wants to be the good guy in this, they're not going to make money from his name. They're going to give all the to his family. And I guarantee that his wife and kids didn't get the tip of the iceberg of what they made from Eddie.
Right. I agree, Kurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Doc Young at WrestlingWeekly.com. Go ahead.
Hi, Kurt. Doc Young. I know we're pressed for time, so I'm really quickly, but there was some talk going around when you were moved from Raw to ECW that you were very upset about that and that you didn't want to go. If that's true, can I get your comments on that?
Yeah. Well, Vince painted a picture for me. He said, listen, we're going to make that more real. It's going to be the wrestling company. He was pumping me up. And when I got over there wasn't anybody for me to work with. I had Rob Van Dam, and then I had Sabu, who uses chairs. And then I had Sandman. And I had Balls Mahoney. And I'm thinking, who am I going to work over here in a main event status? And then they brought Big Show over. And I'm thinking, okay, I worked with him a million times. Rob Van Dam was a lot of fun to work with. Even Sabu, Vince said, listen, you got to make Sabu look like $1 million tonight. He hasn't had a wrestling match in a long time. It's always been gimmicked. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And I did it. And Vince rewarded me and said, thank you for making him tonight. And he showed an appreciation that night. And I was happy with that, but I thought Sabu did a good job of listening, and he did it. He showed that he can actually wrestle a match. But then I looked around, I'm like, who the hell am I going to work with next? And WWE appointed me as an agent on the road. Okay, I wasn't getting paid as an agent, but I was told to teach these wrestlers, and a lot of the wrestlers were getting upset because they're like, who the hell is he to tell me that I've been wrestling 15 years? He's only been wrestling 6. Who is he to tell me what to do? I was just trying to teach the guy. So then, I was getting unhappy because, one, I wasn't trying to tell him, listen, you're screwing up. I just basically would tell him, listen, that was a great match, but this is what you can work on. And I started getting a negative reaction. And so I went to some of the upper guys and said, these guys don't even want to listen to me. And I'm not putting down ECW, but you know what? I have a gift. I can watch a match and tell you what you did right and what you did wrong. And I will try to compliment you as much as you can and give you more positive feedback than negative, but I'm also going to tell you what you need to do and what you need to work on to improve your skills. And I guess some of the guys got a little upset and they weren't happy with it. Well, you know what? I wasn't happy being a part of a company that didn't want to work with me. And you know what? I didn't want to be an agent anymore. Not for them. And then when you put me in that position where there's nobody for me to wrestle with, then I started wrestling Randy Orton, which is he's a tremendous athlete, but he's not in ECW. And then they wanted to start cross promoting. I'm like, why the hell did you even put me in ECW anyway? I went along with it because I was a team player, but you're damn right I was unhappy. I had nobody to wrestle. I mean, I am not an ECW guy that basically uses barbed wire and uses chairs. I tell a story in a wrestling match by wrestling, not by using sledgehammers or chairs or tables. I go out there and I wrestle in the ring, and that's what I do best, and that's what people enjoy the most. And maybe other people disagree, but this business has been torn apart by overexposure of when you hit a guy in the head with a chair 5 times, okay, that guy shouldn't even be alive. I mean, you're talking about taking away the reality. And I just thought that what, this isn't where I want to be. Either put me on Raw or SmackDown and let me be me and let me wrestle. And they're like, no, this is your club now. You're the new face of ECW. Bull crap! I wasn't the new face. Did I end up with the title? No.
Right.
I mean, right away it was Rob Van Dam, and you know what? Rob deserved that for years. I've been telling Vince McMahon Rob needed the title for years. You know why? Because he needed it, not because he wanted it. But anyway, to make it to end it, finally they gave Rob that, and I was very happy for him, and I thought that he deserved that. And that's the kind of guy I am. I didn't want the title. I just wanted to be able to wrestle people, and then I found out I'm not on SummerSlam. Why? The second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Why? Because they had nobody for me to work with. I mean, the best wrestler in the company doesn't have anybody to work with. That's kind of like, I think a lot of fans would be disappointed Kurt Angle wasn't going to be in SummerSlam. So I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just trying to be honest. But anyway, that's pretty much the story, and I was unhappy.
Thank you, Kurt. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
The last question comes from Ryan Dorst with WrestleView.com. Go ahead, sir.
This is Ryan Drafty. Hey, Kurt, how you doing?
Very good, thanks.
You kind of got into this a little bit earlier, but I was just going to ask you, when you first got into wrestling in '99, WWE was setting all kinds of records, and now you're going to a company on the rise, and you're trying to get to that next level. What are some of the things with your past experience you think that TNA needs to get, or they need to focus on to reach that level? And then on a side note, what do you think of the 6-sided ring, and how long do you think that'll take you to get used to?
Not long to get used to. The 6-sided ring is awesome. I really enjoy it. But see, if you watch my matches, I don't run around quite a bit. I let my opponents do that. I stay in the middle and wrestle. As far as TNA getting to the next level and everything like that, all they need to do is keep doing what they're doing. TNA, Jeff Jarrett, he's done a tremendous job as a champion. Dixie Carter is doing a tremendous job as the owner. And you know what? I'm just part of the picture here. It's funny because I saw this coming. I saw TNA coming, and this is kind of this is selfish of me, but I saw this team of guys that were rapidly growing, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of something that makes history. When I got in WWE, they were already at the top, and I got paid well thanks to guys like Rock and Stone Cold, and The Undertaker, and even Triple H, and to a certain degree. But I just saw so much room for growth, and I saw the tremendous athleticism, and I said, man, I'd love to be a part of a company that, one, all they need to do is keep doing what they're doing and stay with the basics. We got the best writer in wrestling now, Vince Russo, and we got the best wrestler in wrestling now, Kurt Angle, and we got all these other wrestlers to surround us with that are incredibly talented. I've told at least 4 wrestlers that if they learn a few different things, tricks of the trade, that they're going to be better than me. And I was being honest with them. That's how good these guys in this company are. So to me, I feel that TNA is not just going to grow rapidly. They are going to be the company, and they're going to make a lot of money. And I wanted to be a part of a company, not just for the money, because you know what, money has never been that important to me. I always wanted to be a part of a company that made history. You know what, I get to help out and make history with TNA and with Spike. And you know, and you know what, there's always room for two different companies to have success. I think Vince McMahon will always have success. He's always done well. He's a great businessman. He will always do great at what he does. And he is a sports entertainer. Okay, TNA, we're going back to basics, and we're total nonstop action. That's what we are, but we're wrestling. Okay, we're not a sport entertaining kind of thing. We have a lot of entertainment in our show, but our basic thing is going back to the basics of what wrestling used to be, and that is telling a story in the wrestling matches and having great wrestling. That's what people pay to see. They don't pay to see, you know, somebody having sex with somebody else in a bed for the main event, you know, of the show. They pay to see a great main event that, God willing, when we get 2 hours, is going to be a half hour long and a great story being told. And, you know, I just think right now TNA is doing as good as they possibly could have done. And they got it together. They have it together not just from an athletic standpoint, but from a business standpoint. I mean, they put it this way. In a way, they're, compared to Vince, they're primitive, okay, right now. But within the next 2 years, this company's going to grow so rapidly that they're going to have their own headquarters like Vince McMahon does. They're going to have the amount of employees that Vince McMahon has, maybe even more, because Dixie, Carter, and TNA and Spike are all meshing together so well, and nobody is butting heads, that when you get help from a network like Spike and they love your character, and I'm talking about TNA's character and Dixie Carter and everybody else following, you're going to get help from them, you're going to get help from your athletes, and you're going to get help from your owner, and you put them all together. Now you got a marketing machine that's going to be nonstop all the time. It's not just nonstop action wrestling. This is going to be nonstop action marketing. These guys are going to be the biggest thing in wrestling since the ratings wars. And you know what? And I've been compared to Hogan switching and going down the WCW. That's an honor to be compared to that. But you're going to see that, you know, that TNA isn't just a gimmick company that, you know, draws ratings for a year and then goes out of business. They're in it for the long haul. And when Dixie said she wants me for 30 years, TNA wants me for 30 years, I'm there for 30 years. And I want to make sure, as Dixie's employee and TNA's employee and working for Spike, I pray to God we stay with Spike, because they're unlimited too with their potential. So altogether, this is just going to be a whole wrestling marketing machine that will not stop. It'll just keep going forward.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck in TNA. I really think it's going to be a great thing for your career.
Thank you very much. I hope so, and I really believe that too. Thank you.
My name is James Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. If you have not done so already, please do. Click that subscription button and the notifications bell. This way you'll be notified anytime I upload any new or new to you classic content from our archives that date back to 2002. If you get the opportunity, please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and info needs, as well as our store to keep us going free and clear.